When I was a lad, there was a campaign run by the Conservatives called Labour Isn't Working. That propelled Margaret Thatcher and her crew to power. Is Labour working now? What's happening to our energy costs? And why on earth are they pursuing what I consider to be the insanity of the Green agenda? Welcome to Lembit Öpik Live.
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you!
Boring. 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 Boring.
You gotta work. Don't tell us what we're gonna feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're gonna feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember what you're doing. You're in no position to dictate what we're gonna feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Welcome. Lembit Öpik here on Lembit Öpik Live. There's a clue in the name. On Unprecedented TV. Please do like and subscribe. Go to @Unprecedented TV. It'll take you 30 seconds, costs you nothing, and opens for you a treasure trove of programs. Hundreds and hundreds of shows since we first launched sometime last year. Lots to happen in this year again, and some huge plans to replace the mainstream media with ourselves. We will become the mainstream media, I hope. Well, we'll see what happens on that one. But it's all big thanks to you and the thousands who already subscribe. Now, here's a question. Is Labour working? There was that campaign in the 1970s, 1979 roughly, where the billboard said, Labour isn't working. We'll have a look at one of those posters in a minute. And the argument was that Labour couldn't run the economy. The Tories, for better or worse, replaced Labour for the whole of the 1980s, with Margaret Thatcher at the helm for that decade. Well, you can argue if they were good or bad, but one thing's for sure, Labour is now blaming the previous Conservative government for the problems the country's got. Is that plausible? 2 years in, and Rachel Reeves is so weak, apparently, that she hasn't been able to turn around the country. Every month, we have unexpectedly high unemployment, unexpectedly high inflation, unexpectedly high borrowing. The only unexpected thing is that people are still surprised about it. Anyway, my view is, that's my opinion, of course, my view is that there's an awful lot to assess here. And since this is an election year, major local elections, it's a good time to do it. We'll look at the other parties too, but I just got riled really by the endless excuses we get from Labour. Let's talk to somebody with an honour, an MBE no less. It's Nick Buckley MBE. Nick, good to see you. How are you doing?
I am good, and thank you for allowing me to come back on your show again.
We had a complaint about the last show when you were on. Somebody in the north of England complained that all we did was laugh.
I'm not sure
if you're familiar with the complainant.
I am. I think I live with her. And after we recorded the last show, she came into my office and went, do you two ever talk about anything serious? You just seem to be laughing and joking all the time. Well, told me off.
Well, I don't want to create marital strain in your household, but if you didn't laugh, you'd cry. I mean, the situation is laughable. So I make no apology, Mrs. Buckley MBE. Does she get the MBE as well?
She doesn't, but it's also a reflection on my marriage. My wife doesn't like me laughing.
That opens such a big can of worms, and you've just done it live to the world. She has got the right to reply, and if you want that, just go to the comments, Mrs. Buckley MBE, and I'll read a comment out if you can find it. Well, whether your marriage is working or not, this is what I'm doing there. I want to get to the old poster from the late 70s. Oh, thank you. Saved by the poster. Labour isn't working. Britain's better off with the Conservatives, it said. That was, I think, in 1979. I think it was part of the campaign which propelled the mercurial and divisive Margaret Thatcher into power. Could we be using, or could the Conservatives be using this poster now?
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, 2 years, almost 2 years in now, this Labour government, everything, every metric you could use to measure success of the government, our wealth, how well the government's doing, every metric I can think of, Labour are failing in all of them, especially employment. The amount of millionaires and billionaires fleeing, unemployment's up, youth employment's up, people on the dole is up, people claiming benefits is up. It's a mess. It's a real mess, and we knew this was going to happen.
How did we know?
Because Labour always do this. The reason why Labour's done this quicker than normal, and this is the reason why at this moment in time they're blaming the Tories for everything, is because of this one fact. Normally, when Labour get into power, they inherit a fairly good economy. So they can spend the first few years spending and telling people, look how amazing we are when we're buying your vote and we're putting extra benefits in. This is the first time I can think of where the Labour government has got into power and the previous government, the Tories, were just as bad as Labour and left a bankrupt country. So Labour are stuck this time because what they would normally do, they can't do because we're bankrupt almost.
Well, the reason that we're discussing it is because if you're watching this live, in the morning, Wes Streeting, yet another potential candidate to replace Keir Starmer, I'm guessing around May, was blaming the Conservatives. I'm quite surprised you say that because they have intellectual colossuses on their bench. There's David Lamb. You don't see him about much anymore. Maybe he's just got lost in the Houses of Parliament. It's a very big building, and you have to be quite bright to get around it. But with geniuses like him, it's surprising they're not doing better. But the cynicism aside, the I've got here is that with Wes Streeting blaming the Conservatives, it implies that Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, hasn't got a handle on the economy 2 years in. And this point I made in the introduction, unexpectedly high unemployment, unexpectedly high borrowing. It's all unexpectedly worse than predicted, but it's not unexpectedly worse at all, is it?
It isn't if you understand politics and how the economy works. It's to be expected. But that's the problem in itself. She doesn't understand these things. She's pulled levers, she's pressed buttons, she's implemented new policies, and she's believed all her life that those things she's done will increase our wealth, will increase employment, will make people get paid more, the country will be better. So she's doing everything she thinks will work. And it turns out everything she's doing is having the opposite effect. That's why she's surprised. That's why it's all unexpected, because she thought she was an economics genius. And it turns out she's just a run-of-the-mill Marxist communist who doesn't understand the economy, doesn't understand money.
That's quite harsh, but she does really care. She cares so much she burst into tears during Prime Minister's questions. Now, this could be a bit harsh to show this, but you really want somebody stronger than this when they're in the workplace. The House of Parliament, the House of Commons is the workplace. And Rachel Reeves infamously wept. But the biggest problem I've got is even when she's not crying, she just doesn't. Then she's crying wolf. Then she's blaming the Conservatives. And I just don't think you can get away with it. It's worth remembering Rachel Reeves' CV was all messed up. She claimed to win a chess championship. The embarrassing point was that the person who actually won it went on the news and said, no, you didn't. They're about to go to, NASA's about to launch a space rocket to go around the moon. But what's the point? Rachel Reeves was the first woman on the moon, according to her CV. I mean, this is the thing. Her CV was just not true. She doesn't look credible. Look at that. I mean, it's a bit heart-rending, but she's meant to be she's meant to be in charge of a £2 trillion economy, and she can't hold it together. It's just a problem. It's symptomatic of the whole problem of Starmer's cabinet, I think.
Oh, exactly. Don't be confused who those tears were for. Those tears weren't for us. Those tears weren't for the British people or the British economy. Those tears were for her. That's what those tears were for. If she was a man sat on the front bench crying like that, that would be the end of his career. We would class him as weak, pathetic, not good enough to do the job. But because she's a woman, we go, oh, it pulls on our heartstrings, because it's a biological, it's a biological reaction when women cry, because we're born to protect women and children. So she gets away with a lot more because she's a woman. Hence why the economy is failing, because we do not hold her responsible as much as we would a male chancellor. She's in too deep. She's over her head. She doesn't know what she's doing. We hardly ever hear of her anymore now, because the Labour Party and government have realised every time, she speaks, it just gets worse. So let's not have her speaking to anybody. Yeah. They can't sack her, because the day they sack her, Starmer falls the same day that she's sacked. She's just she's an unwanted guest at a house party, and no one has the guts to tell her it's time to leave.
One person has the guts from the Philippines. It's Ricky Sickles, who says Labour's never worked. Most polylogs are toe rags. Polylog. That's a new word for me. I hope I haven't sworn. I'll tell you about toe rags in a minute. And Ricky adds, maybe government should only be paid a stipend that's tied to the minimum wage and can't raise their pay. I have a different view on that last one. But just to think about toe rag, do you know what a toe rag actually was? Do you know what the phrase means?
No.
When you had the sailing ships in the old days, they didn't really have proper toilets.
Mm.
I have to try and explain this in a way which is family friendly. So you didn't have toilet roll. You'd have a rag, and you'd use a rag to clean things up at the rear end.
Yeah.
And then what they did was they throw that rag into the ocean on a rope to clean it for the next person. That was a tow rag.
So it's not. I thought it had something to do with your toes on your feet.
No,
it's a tow rag because the rag's being towed in the water.
It's TOW rag. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Okay.
Not a lot of people know that.
No,
it features in my book, All at Sea, which is still available, but that's another story. Now, Ricky's got no right to complain, because Ricky is an American, and if you want to complain, Ricky, why don't you just rejoin the United Kingdom? Just a thought. 1776 means that you're not allowed to complain anymore, Ricky. But do keep it going. Yeah, Ricky's always good. No doubt there'll be another response. This is late afternoon for Ricky, so this is his daytime television, basically. Returning to the point you're making, it does seem to me that we've got just an endless supply of idiots. Here's another one who I particularly find frustrating. It's Ed Miliband, who, in my view, is an intellectual ignoramus when it comes to the environment. He thinks the minuscule proportion of carbon dioxide contributed by the human race, which is 3% of the 100% that goes out every year, 97% is natural. So if human beings all vanished now, it would almost be the same amount of CO2 going out as we got now. But he's got this massive power. Green levies to blame for rising energy bills, say suppliers. Now, this is the other thing that's provoked me at the moment. Everyone's pointing to Iran, saying, Iran's making it really expensive for energy. No. Ed Miliband's making it really expensive. UK's biggest gas and electric providers urge ministers to address ballooning net zero costs. If you got rid of the net zero costs, all this absolutely insane stupidity, and we actually started mining coal, which is beneath our very feet, fracking for gas and extracting oil from the North Sea, we could be self-sufficient. But this idiot uses the non-existent climate emergency as an excuse to tax the hell out of the public. Why do they get away with this?
This has been going on for several decades now. And, it started with the green movement in the 60s and 70s. Children coming home from school, being told at school, every time you turn your light on in the house, a polar bear dies in the North Pole. And we've had this, and then people bought into it, became a new religion. But I'm beginning to have a slightly different take on it, especially to do with the Iran war. The Iran war could be a blessing in disguise. Let's put all the dead people to one side. Obviously, I don't want to see dead people, but wars produce dead people. But if the Iran war gets worse, and the petrol keeps going up and it starts crippling Western economies, which it will do. It starts affecting prices in shops because everything needs delivering, everything has delivery costs. When we can't afford to fill up our cars, we will look at government and we will say, do something now or you will fall. And I think if things get worse this year, I think all the green levies, all the net zero idiocracy, if that's a word, will all go. And once it's gone and the Iran war stops, it'll be very difficult to ever bring any of it back. So I think the Iran war could be a blessing in disguise for Western Europe with the cost of energy.
I think it is a bit of a wake-up call. After the break, I want to talk a bit more about that. Green energy boss backs more North Sea oil and gas production from existing sites is a story. GB Energy's Jürgen Mayer says production could bring economic benefits and give supply chains time to transition to renewables. But it's still the fact that at least one green energy boss is talking up oil and gas, which rather plays in favour of your point.
Yeah,
this isn't what you hear from Labour.
We buy oil and gas from some of it from Norway. And have a guess where Norway gets theirs from?
Space. From magic. It's from magic.
It's from the trolls under the troll bridges. So they obviously get theirs from the North Sea, right next to our bit of the North Sea. And we're buying their North Sea oil, but we're too stupid and pathetic to drill for our own North Sea.
In other words,
oil
it's the
and
same
gas.
oil.
It's the
same oil.
Yes. So we rely on Russia and the Middle East. You know, we rely on dirty energy because we produce ours cleaner than theirs. We rely on areas of the globe that are in flux, that are dangerous. We have to prop up regimes we don't like. We're at war, technically, technically we're at war with Russia. We're still buying their oil and gas. Maybe not from them. They sell it to India, then we buy it from India with a markup on it. Wouldn't it be great if we were self-sufficient in our energy production? And part of that might be green energy. I've got nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with green energy. If it's viable, I just don't want us being forced into green energy and having our prices double, triple, quadruple. The price of electricity in the UK, it is 4 times more expensive than in America. That can't be right.
We'll come back to you in a minute. Ricky Sickles claims he's more Filipino than American now. That's handy, Ricky. Still not British. Keep your comments coming, Ricky. He is by far the most active viewer we've got today. You're watching Meet Lembit Öpik here on Unprecedented TV. Please do like and subscribe at Unprecedented TV on YouTube with Nick, Buckley MBE. We'll go back to him in a minute. But first, I want to remind you of a great series with Tim Scott. Tim Scott Uncancelled, it's called. He goes back to the newspapers and buys them so that you don't have to. Great show, great chap as well. And all available for free for now on Unprecedented TV. Please do like and subscribe. But for now, you also get the free views of Nick, Buckley MBE. Interesting point from Ricky Sickles. He's pretty much backing up what you said. Norway is horizontally drilling into UK oil and selling it back to selling you your own oil. And it's true. I mean, it's this ridiculous thing. But this is you use the word idiocracy. I think there's actually a film by that name. That's maybe where you subliminally get it. And it does seem to me that we have this absolute complete madness. This madness going on. And that's not the only thing. We've got coal. We've tons and tons of coal. And there are beginning to be stories. There's actually one of them. And it says Britain risks missing out on the great coal revival. As Iran war cuts global gas supply, countries are mining cheaper energy sources if they can. This is the extraordinary thing, because coal, Britain's built on coal, which is nothing more than the remains of forests from long, long ago. And you can burn it quite cleanly now. If you don't obsess about the carbon dioxide, and we shouldn't. Carbon dioxide is our friend. It's the gas of life. It feeds the trees. If you don't obsess about that, we could dig down and heat ourselves and power our stations and do what China's basically doing, which is have a cheap manufacturing base. And no one's going to tell me that coal is particularly expensive. It's not.
Not with the new technologies. We're not sending men down the pits anymore with pickaxes, a little bit at a time. We've got technology for this now. And some of the pits that were closed in the 70s and 80s, which were not financially viable, well, they're viable now because of technology. So we need to be digging our own coal, because from what I understand, we import a lot of our coal from Russia. And this is absolutely crazy. We need to make a choice in this country. Do we want higher quality of life, or do we want to be woke, pink and fluffy? That's the choice, really. And I will always go for better standard of living for my fellow citizens.
My understanding is that Drax, a huge power station not far from where you live, is run on wood chip, which is brought over from Canada. And Canada chop down trees, and sometimes old trees, old rainforest, old forest, stick it all in a diesel guzzling ship, bring it to Drax, and they burn it. That's just insane.
They don't call it wood chips; they call it biomass. Yeah. So this is a biomass furnace. This is a biomass electricity. Oh, that sounds good. Biomass. That sounds very clever. Oh, biomass. Yeah, wood, trees. So you're right. We're chopping down trees. 30 years ago, you'd have been arrested for chopping down trees. Today, we're chopping down trees, calling it biomass. This is just, everything about it is one big con. Have you ever seen a documentary called Planet of the Humans?
No.
It's done by the guy who did 9/11, Fahrenheit 9/11.
Oh, right. Was it
Michael Moore?
Michael Moore, yeah. He did, Building for Columbine.
Yes,
a lot of other stuff. Yeah.
You can watch it free on YouTube now. It goes into all this, and it's eye-opening. It really is eye-opening. Planet of the Humans. Watch it on YouTube. It's very interesting.
I like Michael Moore. He tends to take things to a logical extreme. But I will. Planet of the Humans. I like that. I can see what he's doing. Probably the antidote to Al Gore's ludicrous, inaccurate, and now out of date, an inconvenient truth. The inconvenient truth was that he was wrong. Al Gore was wrong about the climate emergency. He predicted that the North Pole would be ice-free by 2016. But there we go. Then there's fracking as well. Bill to permanently ban fracking, approved by Northern Ireland Executive. By and large, I tend to think of Northern Ireland as having the most intelligent politicians in Britain, mainly because they come from a much more challenging political environment than any other part of the UK. But this is madness. Probably because the word fracking sounds bad. If it was soaping or massaging or something, it would be better. But fracking, it sounds terrible. And this is just insane, because there are trillions, as far as I understand it, trillions of cubic feet of natural gas under our feet. We could get it out.
And we should get it out. And that's what it's there for. I remember a king or a prince in one of the Middle Eastern countries, and he was doing a speech, and he basically said the oil under the ground was a gift from God to us. And that's what this is. It's a gift. I think Reform UK call it treasure. It's treasure under our feet, and they're right. We need to be making use of it. And the reason why this has been banned in Northern Ireland is because of Northern Ireland politics. I mean, Sinn Féin now are not basically the party they used to be. They're a woke, communist, open borders, pink and fluffy. Let's forget about the people we assassinated sort of political party now. So they're just playing politics with this. But this is the middle class, the educated middle class think all this is wrong. They think they're saving the world, and they're quite happy to allow millions of people to live in poverty if they get to save the world and keep their middle class lifestyle. And it's shame on them.
I'm just trying to see if we can get. There's a comment by it was actually Robert Jenrick. This is a real problem for me. Robert Jenrick, who is now Reform UK, said, and I quote, that he agrees with the long-term aim to decarbonize. I think we can agree on that. Well,
no, we can't agree on that. No,
well, that's what Robert Jenrick, the Reform UK defector, is saying.
He's a Tory. He'll always be a Tory. Tories started all this crap. Tories wrote all this into legislation with Theresa May. You know, the Tories believe in most of this. They just want to slow it down so it's politically convenient. They're still taking us to the same destination. They just do it a lot slower than everybody else.
That we came across, and it's a bit incidental, but it's a tragic story from long ago. We came across, if we can get that rather upsetting the picture up of the turbine, that's it. 2 engineers trapped on top of a burning wind turbine hug each other for the last time. This thing caught fire. And,
I've never seen that.
It was from 2013. We just came across it. It wasn't touted much at the time. These things sometimes do catch fire. When I was a member of Parliament, we had blades coming off and flying through the air like sabers, and they'd catch fire when the gear would overheat, and then you'd have this. Now, I haven't independently corroborated this, but I do know that these things catch fire. The problem with turbines and solar panels and all that, the fundamental problem is that they just don't produce enough power to really justify the investment in a northern climate. We get quite a lot of wind, but it's variable. You have to have something called spinning reserve. Spinning reserve is conventional power that you can dial in and dial out as and when you need it. If these go behind the cloud, if the sun goes behind the cloud, these suddenly drop off. And it's quite likely, to be honest with you, that some of the power outages we've had in Britain, and actually also happened in Spain, was because the surging caused by a gust of wind or a sudden lull. And that trips all the systems. So there's all kinds of problems there. Theoretically, you can fix some of them, but not to a total extent. Anyway, I'm having a bit of whinge there. Going back to
let me just jump in there about
sure.
this. We also have to look at the amount of fraud in the green energy sector as well. It's everywhere. Here's a great example. A couple of years ago in Spain had solar panel farms, because obviously it's a very sunny country, and they were selling their electricity to the government at inflated prices because it was green energy and the government was loving it and buying it. And then somebody realized that some of these solar farms were producing electricity 24 hours a day. And I know Spain's sunny, but it's not that sunny. And when it got investigated, they were producing power with diesel generators because it was cheaper than solar, producing it with solar. And then you could make a profit by selling it into the government grid. There's fraud everywhere on this agenda.
The Labour Party now saying they're going to fast track nuclear power stations. Good luck with that. You get up one morning, you see some builders next door. What are you building? Oh, a nuclear power station, mate. No one told me. Fast track. There's a war on carbon going on, mate. I mean, this is the thing. You can't build nuclear power stations quickly, even without the planning issues.
Yeah,
you have to check the stability of the ground. You have to do all kinds of things. When I was at university in the 1980s, they were talking about extending Hinkley Point Power Station. They are extending it. Still, they're still doing it. 40 years later, they're still doing it. So we've got this madness going on, and I feel that it all comes back down to the really low quality of politicians we have, and back to that Keir Starmer thing, where that sums it up. Labour isn't working, and Starmer's got to be associated with that. I've never known a government, and maybe it's just my age now, but never known a Labour government so incompetent when it comes to the economy.
I completely agree. But again, we've also had 14 years of Tory governments, and every one of them was more incompetent than the one that went before. So, you know, this is just the new breed of politicians who are not leaders, they're middle managers. They just do as they're told from multinationals and world organizations, and they just do as they're told. And what they're doing is perfectly correct for the people who are telling them what to do. It's just not correct to improve the country. It might improve other people's balance sheets. It might be moving us closer to a world government. It might be improving the WEF's image. All these things may be true, but our politicians should be improving the lives of British people. And on their number one aim, they've been failing for several decades now.
They really have been. There was a guy called Fink on the television. He's in charge of BlackRock, very dark organization responsible for $14 trillion worth of investment. 14 trillion, which is roughly 4 times bigger than the gross domestic product of the United Kingdom. 14 trillion, no less. And he was pronouncing on all of this and being revered by the BBC. Well, he's unelected too, and I feel very much part of the same group. Colombids has gone pretty active here on the chat. I read on the gift from the higher power is water, 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. Very good point. It's incredible. H2 is an incredible thing. Ricky Sickles rightly says CO2 is only about 0.03% of the atmosphere. That's right. It's about 0.04% of the atmosphere, Ricky. That's what it is. Yep, good one, guys. And Colin seems to have had a heavy night by the description, which I don't want to read out. Hydrogen energy is being suppressed. As Colin says, all kinds of problems with hydrogen. You can't liquefy it, not really, and so you have to keep it at really high pressure. And just actually separating it out is a pretty big energy process. You could do it, Nick, if you had a nuclear power station endlessly making hydrogen. That would work. It's not a bad fuel source. It's just we haven't really got a way of doing it efficiently at the moment, because you need to have a clean source of power. And the problem is, normally, if you're going to make hydrogen, you might as well use the original power source to make the electricity in the first place. Hydrogen might be a way of carrying power around. One of the very impressive things about the Apollo program, the 1960s initiative to get to the moon, was that the batteries, they separated hydrogen and oxygen, so you got power and oxygen at the same time. It was really kind of impressive. I still don't completely understand how it works, but you got breathing oxygen from it, or was it water? One way or the other. It either combined or separated them, I can't remember. But basically, it is H2O. Water is an incredible thing, and it exists in 3 forms on the Earth, which is as water vapor, as liquid, and ice. And that seems to be quite a rare thing in the universe. But I'm getting very excited about the Apollo, the Artemis launch to the moon. So I won't bore you with about that. Colin says water sausage, but I'm not sure what is referring to. They know how to crack water at OverUnity, but it's kept secret. There's a lot of talk about whether there's some secret or clever way of turning water into power, for example. And I'd like to see, Ricky says, I'd like to see Tesla or Toyota make an electric hydrogen hybrid car or truck. That'd be an interesting idea, but you still have the problem. And Colin says they won't. They keep it away from us like the plague. And you can't tax water. Yeah, that's the point. If you could do it, you couldn't tax water. And I might have said something wrong, because Colin says Starmer, Lembit, LOL. I'm not sure if that's a cryptic message. Maybe that is Starmer. Maybe Colin is Keir Starmer. That's what's going on there. But back to the problem with Starmer. Is there any way he can turn this around?
No. I'm sure there's people in the country who are clever enough to turn it around, but none of them are in the Labour Party. None of them are on the front bench or in Parliament at all. So they can't turn this around. But again, we've got in this position over many, many decades. So it will take many decades to fix many of these problems. The first thing we need to do is to admit we have a problem. We're having a problem with the way we run the economy, the way we expect the country to work, the legislature. We have to admit we've got these problems. And the second thing we need to do is start educating the public on what it's going to take to fix them. Because to fix some of these serious problems is going to involve pain, is going to involve changing our lifestyles to a certain extent. And the people have to be on board. Otherwise, a government will come in, try to do it within 6 months. There's demonstrations on the streets and it all gets swept under the carpet and we ignore it again and we keep going downhill. We just need to accept our personal responsibility, put our big boy pants on and go, we need to fix some of this stuff.
I observed on X, do follow me on X at Lembit Öpik, that to solve Britain's housing crisis, you just have to solve the migrant crisis.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have any problems then. With the current level of increased population, you will never resolve it, because for one thing, the Labour Party is totally failing in their house building target, and for another, the amount of increasing accommodation is far more than by increasing population. Even with the millionaires leaving, 16,000 millionaires leaving in 12 months. They're outweighed by the hundreds of thousands of migrants coming in. I wouldn't close the door to migration, but I would certainly think about the Australian system, which is points based. Get the people in that we want, rather than people who want to be here. Just and columnist says can't see a way out by voting, I'm afraid, and that's a big concern. When do you think the next general election will be?
If it's down to Labour, it will be the last day they're allowed to call it, 2019, 29 sometime. There's a chance external forces could force an election if the economy crashes, if there's mass riots, mass violence. There's always a chance something could force their hands, but they know they're being wiped out, and they're praying something happens between now and the last day they can call a general election.
A last little bit of fun for you. It's a bit of a quiz. Okay. Who could replace Vladimir Zelensky and Keir Starmer in a more authentic way? It's a cryptic clue. Who could they be replaced with? People who do what they're doing, but more honestly.
Oh, I could name loads of people. So you could look at Little and Large, Cannon and Ball, you know, Morecambe and Wise, the two Ronnies. You pick any comedy duo, probably could do a better job than these two.
My team came up with this option, Charlie Caroli and his little sidekick, because, as my producer says, you've got to, in both cases, Zelensky and Starmer and these two, you've got a professional clown and an idiot. But these two are doing it authentically. They do it on purpose.
Yes.
Whereas, they are. That's the main difference: professional clown and an idiot. You can decide which. Well, there's only one professional clown there. Zelensky did have a perfectly successful career.
Yeah,
it's amazing to me, though, that a man who isn't all that funny is now worth something at $40 million. It's very strange how Volodymyr Zelensky has done that. I met somebody who knew the arms trade, the illegal arms trade, a guy who seemed to have quite a lot of intelligence on it. And he said, illegal arms dealers hate Zelensky and they hate Ukraine. Do you know why?
Why? Because
with all the arms being sent there and the illegal arms trade being run from Ukraine, the bottoms dropped out of the illegal arms trade market. And they're just not getting the kind of return they used to get. So,
well, do you know who
instead? Go on.
I was going to say, do you know who actually loves Zelensky?
Go on.
It's the motoring company Bentley. Because I read the headline today. I've not read the article, but I read the headline today before I came on the show. Bentley's fastest growing market is the Ukraine. And so people who don't know, Bentley make quality cars, a bit like Rolls-Royce. It's their fastest growing market, Ukraine.
Are you serious?
Yeah, headline today in the newspaper, online.
That's extraordinary. I'll look that up myself. It's certainly not where I live. And Kolomid says Zelensky's bottom will fall out once they're finished with him. I assume that's a metaphorical. Kolomid also suggests Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah.
Which is good. 2030 looms and Starmer is there till 2029. That's a good point. 2030. It's meant to be the great day, the great year when we can no longer buy petrol and diesel cars new. I mean, come on. That's just crazy. What will happen, of course, they'll say, we've solved the climate crisis, so now you can buy the car that you want again. That's the great thing, because they blame they blame carbon dioxide for drought, flooding, heat and cold, everything. In other words, they can say whenever they want, "Oh, we fixed it," and it's all back to normal again. This is the thing. I don't want to go back into Parliament. Would you stand again?
I'd probably stand again, especially at the general election. But that's a few years away. But at the moment, I intend to stand again. Okay,
for another time, we'll talk about what's going on in the right of politics. For now, though, we say thank you to a good friend of Unprecedented TV. That's Nick Buckley MBE. And I'll simply finish on this. Labour isn't working. You can only blame your predecessors for so long. But if Rachel Reeves isn't good enough to turn the economy around in 2 years, maybe she should sort out her CV, be honest on it, and go and find a job she can do. After all, she's got plenty of experience handling complaints. I'm Lembit Öpik. This was Lembit Öpik Live on at Unprecedented TV. Please like and subscribe. Have a good day.
Immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages.